And we are live with the legendary Krystyna Lennon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, all good. Yes, it's wet and miserable as usual in the UK, but yeah, smiling anyway.
Well, perfect. While I let people roll in, I'm going to ask you some questions that came in on my locals page.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to encourage everybody to follow me on locals. It's free for anybody who wants to just, check out what's being said there, things like that. I've had really good luck. And with everybody getting kicked off platforms like Twitter and this and that, and I might have a controversial guest here or there. That doesn't mean I endorse them. I just want to hear from people. I want to have a freer platform where people can actually share thoughts and things like that. So I try to give some favorability to people who submit questions on locals. And here are 3 quick ones to get us rolling. And these are from Ava, AIVA. I'm guessing it's Ava. And
Hi, Ava.
these are, does being an empath affect how suggestible or hypnotizable you can be?
Not really. No, I wouldn't. No, not at all. Nothing to do with it at all.
Okay. And this one it's kind of interesting. I imagine that they could be. We saw animals can be a hypnotist. Can they themselves be hypnotized?
Animals can be a hypnotist. So, yeah, I mean, there are sort of animals in the wild that supposedly lock onto their prey, and focus on them, so they sort of freeze.
Mhm.
But can animals be hypnotized? I suppose so. When you like stroke your dog and they sort of zone out, I suppose that's kind of a form of
Well, snake charmers,
relaxation.
is that
Yeah,
a
snake
hypnosis?
charmers. It's not hypnosis as such because
Oh,
there's no phenomena, but
oh,
it's similar techniques. Yeah.
okay. Okay, cool. And then the last one, I think I already know the answer to, but can you hypnotize through audio only? Let's say a phone or maybe a podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I do hypnosis via Zoom, and a lot of the time I'm staring at, this sounds really bad, my client's bedroom ceiling. Because, they've got me on their phone or something and they just lay it down by the bed. Preferably, I like to see the person, it's easier if I can see them because I can interact better and I can create a deeper level of hypnosis if I can see somebody. There's different sort of techniques you can use. Touch is taken away if it's on video or just audio. And also, when I see somebody doing something, I can then sort of use that to help them go deeper. So,
Oh,
for instance, if I say you just nodded, I'd be like, and I can see you nodding and blah, blah, and that would help the
sure.
process. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, but yeah, 100% I can do it. Yeah. And I
Well, and
do
there's
do it.
relaxation tapes and things like that. Isn't that kind of
Yeah,
just doing that?
I do recordings for my clients. There's so many different forms of hypnosis, from, the relaxation stuff to the rapid induction where people are going down bang. So there's so many different forms and different ways to get to a state we call hypnosis. So it depends what method you use, and you have to adapt.
Perfect. And somebody in the chat, my little dog stares at you until you look at him. Makes me do what he wants. Like I want more food. So you have a hypno dog too, Mary Grace.
Yeah. Well, Princess is retiring, so I might need to get her digits and borrow her dog.
No kidding. I have of course I have cats, so they'll do the same thing, but then they'll contemptuously be like, I'm done with you.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the, they talk about the hypnotic stare, and dogs are better than that than anybody. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and but back to the cats. Apparently, they learned how to meow to mimic human babies.
Mm. Yeah, especially Siamese cats.
Yes, they're definitely very strong at that. So,
Mhm.
last thing before we start sliding into the main content, of course, because we're talking about
Mhm.
hypnosis, I need to get a pitch so people subscribe.
A pitch.
Yeah.
Watch this channel. Will that help? Probably not.
Well, they need to subscribe. We've got to get the call to action.
Oh, sorry. Subscribe to this channel. Click the link. Your hands are moving towards that mouse. That'll do.
Perfect.
You're going to get thousands signing up now.
Oh, I'll be happy to just get 15,000. Come on, guys. Anyway, okay, so today we're going to talk about some things that you haven't really discussed before. So I will try to bring in things from the chat too, but we kind of have a conversational flow we're going to be going through because you are going to be maybe doing some television coming up, and this is sort of exploration on what may or may not happen. So
yeah, I've been asked to, I did a TV show for Germany, a German TV show quite some time ago, and they have recently come back to me and said that they have seen something in the press about the Hypnodog act not being real. So they want to question me on that, and I thought it's about time I came clean. And there's so many questions. People constantly on my YouTube channel are like, well, what about this? This doesn't look real. That doesn't look real. Well, you know, that looks different. So I thought, do you know what? Let's explain it so that people can understand it and they can see. I've provided you with some videos, some clips so that we can actually see all the different sort of levels of hypnosis, why some people are behaving differently, why some people look like they're acting, etc. And as well, how the Hypnodog act went from an overt hypnosis show to a covert hypnosis act, which was not my intention. But it was something that happened out of need, I suppose. Okay,
so a couple points on that because it is very relevant. We've talked about it before, so if we're bringing up old material, it doesn't make it less worthwhile. One, you are a trained hypnotist for psychology, if you will, or helping people, a therapeutical hypnotist, which is a very different thing than a stage hypnotist. So you have both sides of the spectrum.
Yes, I started out as a psychologist, psychotherapist. I did hypnotherapy to my toolkit, absolutely fell in love with it, loved it, and did that for about 15 years before I ever considered going on stage. And then I learned stage hypnosis from a video of a friend that did a show, just literally watched his video, wrote down what he did, practiced what he did, and off I went. That was it.
Now, I got to ask you a question because, of course, Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge, which is often inaccurate, does say that your uncle had a Hypnodog act. Is that accurate?
Well, the truth is, my name is not really Krystyna Lennon. The first Hypnodog act was a guy called Hugh Lennon with a dog called Oscar. He's my friend. He's a very good friend of mine. And he was always telling me, you should take over the show. And I was like, me on stage? Absolutely not. No way. I can't do that. And then I lost my job and I needed to make some money. And I wanted to go full time doing therapy and coaching. And again, he said, why don't you do the act? So he'd retired. I rang round all of his old uni contacts and said, the show's back on the road. Talked about the show. And then as a little sign off, except Hugh's not doing it, I am. And I'm his niece. That was literally, it's like, do you remember the show? Yeah, it's amazing. Right, what dates can you do? Blah, blah, blah. Talked it through. And I was like, oh, by the way, just to let you know, it'll be me that's doing it, not Hugh. And they all just went along with it. And so I had 6 shows booked in. And at that point, I'd never actually done stage hypnosis. So I had a very, very steep learning curve to deal with.
Okay, well,
not even steeper.
Well, no, this is good because there's a lot of things going back and forth. Like I used you in a video to respond to Scott Adams, and he, courtesy to him, he replied. I thought and gave a very long reply. I mean, he took some time and really thought and answered, and I deeply appreciate that, especially coming from his stature. But I feel like he was discussing in his reply that he was meaning about you can't be hypnotized against your will in terms of a clinical environment where the patient and the provider, I don't know if you say patient or client, I don't want to get it wrong, and provider have an agreement, like you are going to help me stop smoking. And so if you start hypnotizing me with something else, that's going to start getting weird to me, and I maybe won't fall.
I would say that about 90% of people, if it was in a clinical setting and they've come to see me to get rid of anxiety, and all of a sudden I start introducing something crazy that they're going to do, then there's a 90% of them are going to be like, nah, wake up and be like, what the hell's going on? 10% may not, depending on what the suggestion is, because some people go so deep that you can literally do anything with them. But I'd say 90%, that would probably flag some danger up, and they would probably come out of a trance, or if you believe in trance, or come out of that state.
Right. And I think I shared a movie with you. I think it's called Brainwashed, or a television segment. And that kind of goes into it as well. And I think we are going to discuss it too, with your experience of how they went through some hoops in order to weed out people who were not quite as susceptible as they appeared. So you're giving me percentages, and can you give a winging breakdown of that? I'm going to guess that you mentioned the 10% are highly susceptible, 90% are somewhat susceptible, or 80 somewhat. And
so I've got, when I get on stage, I've, got 15 people, and straight away I'll, maybe I'll ask them to look up at the ceiling. And as soon as they look up at the ceiling, I talk for about 10 seconds, and already their eyes are going, they're blinking. I can literally sometimes I just go up, tap them, bang, they're down. That's it. And I've talked for a couple of seconds. That's about 10% of people. They go quickly. They are really suggestible. Then you've got the majority in the middle that are somewhere on the scale. And then you've got probably 10% at the other end of the scale that, it's going to take all sorts, or they're absolutely closed off to it. So, but most people are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and it also depends on the situation. Like, I know that you were on a show, Mike Winnett. He's a fabulous YouTuber.
Yeah.
Working on getting him on. So, Mike, if you're watching, we need to be in touch.
I'll drop him a text.
Perfect. You hypnotized some of his crew, but he was a pain in the ass. Just like I may well be a pain in the ass because I'm hosting. So I have a lot of things going on right now, and I'm not as easily distracted. So there's those factors too, correct?
Exactly. I always say, whenever I do a TV show, they always go, can you hypnotize the host or the judge? There's going to be, they're going to hang back a bit. They're not just going to give themselves to me, because they have a job of work to do. So it's a lot more difficult when I'm working with a host or somebody that's got to carry out a certain task. Mike did say he started to go, but I had one, so I stopped. We were in a weird studio. It wasn't set up properly. Ideally, I'd have had them next to each other. So if I had the right setting and a little bit more time, then I could have caught all three of them.
Okay. And just to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm of the understanding, and I'm going to pop a couple extra questions in here too, that when you go out on stage, you are in a room, because a lot of times on your videos, I see they're kind of in a room, or, a smaller area. You're watching the people while you're talking immediately. Like you said before, you have, people look up, you could sort of see. Now, are you picking on those people ahead of time? Like, kind of, I hate to say scouting it, but when you go in immediately looking like, okay, who's susceptible? And
you can't, before doing anything with them, I can't walk into a room and go, yep.
Oh, sure,
you're great. But there's reasons why people can't be on TV, for instance. Like, there's so many different, I've heard people say, oh, there was these volunteers and some of them didn't even go up on stage. That might be because they had a logo on the t-shirt or they looked a bit scruffy or something. So it's not always to do with the hypnosis why we get rid of people. Sometimes it's to do with TV. You know, you can't wear checks, blah, 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 green, bright blues, stuff like that. So there is reasons, or if a girl's wearing something a bit revealing, that it might, you know, expose
I need
them.
a list for people, you know, for people like me. So I'll be like, I'm wearing this bright blue obnoxious peacock shirt. No, you're not going to pick on me.
You know, I've got requirements. The TV show have got requirements. So in the end, it's like, right, who can we use kind of thing. So, but I mean, I'll explain the process and how we get there. And
perfect.
And there's a lot to it.
Now, I know I'm teasing people, but I'm going to get a couple more questions in because this is just awesome. Have you ever put someone under who has dissociative identity disorder? And if so, are there unique challenges with it? And I guess this would be in a more therapeutic environment. I don't know if that would be dangerous or not. So,
I haven't knowingly. I've dealt with lots of different issues, but not that specifically. No.
Okay, and I'm skipping one to this, and I'm going to go back. But this is your favorite kind of client or stage act, isn't it?
I can't see it.
I ain't a genius, but the one thing I'm certain of is my brain is hypnotized proof.
Right, yeah. Oh, I love them. They're the ones that are the best subjects because they don't believe they can be hypnotized. They're not actually protecting themselves very well. We're all susceptible to suggestion. So the ones that believe that it can't happen to them, they're generally the easiest. Definitely.
Okay, and then the last before we get rolling on this, and I am interested in this, are there levels for hypnotists? What makes someone a good or bad hypnotist?
Oh, wow. There are so many people out there that are hypnotists or hypnotherapists, and they are all different levels. Absolutely, 100%. What makes somebody good? I suppose getting results at what they're doing, you know? It depends what the outcome is they need. Am I the best technical hypnotist? No way. You know, I'm good at what I do. Sorry?
CBS says you are.
Well, yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, I'm the best. No, there's some, I've seen hypnotists that are really good technical. They do all sorts of crazy inductions. They, you know, there's so many sort of facets to it that can make somebody good. So like a stage hypnotist, very often it can be just their flair and how funny they are on stage. The therapists, you know, if they're getting results, they're great at what they do. Is it that they're a great hypnotherapist? Maybe not. They might be rubbish, but if they get results, they get results. But yes, 100%. There's so many different levels of training. You know, some people train for 6 weeks, a year. You know, I did 2-year courses in hypnotherapy. And then I've done loads of add-on courses. And obviously I've kind of devoted my life to hypnosis. And what I do, I live and breathe it. So yeah, there's different levels.
I'm curious about that when you're talking about the way the acts and things like that. When on stage, it's interesting to consider the different focuses. Like you have an audience and another audience. So you have the audience of the quote subjects, and their focus should be you and what you're saying. But the general audience, you really want to be focused on the people who are focused on you. Is that a fair statement? It's
a difficult job being a stage hypnotist because you're kind of juggling. I remember when I first did my first shows, I videoed them. And I realized sometimes I had my back to the audience, which is a big no-no. So it's my priority is obviously in first and foremost, it's to make sure that people go under. And I think, especially in the early shows, I'd be so nervous until they were completely under. And then I'd relax a bit and I'd interact with the audience more. Because being a stage hypnotist, you're there to entertain. That's what people want. So it's, you know, that is an important part of it. But yeah, there's so much to think about, the, you know, the people on stage and then the people off stage. And then if you've got a TV crew there as well.
And Princess, is she in the mood?
And yeah, the dog as well. Especially when you're in another country and she's got a dicky tummy. She's about to
Princess has been invaluable, but she's also an aggravation. And I mean that in the nicest way. I mean, she's a dog. She doesn't care what's going on. She's like, "You're gonna feed me, you give me attention. Oh my God, these lights are bothering me. It's kind of hot here, and I'm bored." All these things, and I believe that breed has a kind of higher temperament anyway. They get a little more agitated. Are you shifting to being just Krystyna Lennon minus the dog?
I'm moving away from stage hypnosis altogether. And not just because of the pandemic. It was happening anyway. I retired Princess earlier in last year, January. I did my last TV show, and I'd stopped doing actual live shows probably about 6 months to a year before that. I was focusing more on the serious side of hypnosis. I've always been a therapist coach, but now I do talks about hypnosis and about covert hypnosis and things like that. So that's my aim, and it always was my aim. The Hypnodog thing was just a little like, look at this fun stuff we can do and look, you know, at what can be achieved. And I've done that, and it served me well. So yeah.
Well, awesome. You've got a rock star fan here, Chase Hughes.
Hi.
Huge fan.
Chase.
Krystyna is such a no BS practitioner.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Of course, Bradley, John Eaglefeather. And Bradley actually helps me with a lot of my site and social media and things like that. He's been just an amazing friend. Krystyna, can you hypnotize the great Chase Hughes?
Well, I don't see why not. It's one of those things you can't tell until you start working with someone. But I think most hypnotists tend to make good subjects.
Okay, well, now we have a perfect question from the Chase Hughes that would be an awesome takeaway if you are willing to share anything. Question for KL. How would you teach someone a covert hypnosis trick in only a few minutes? Any cool tricks? So is there any low-hanging fruit that you don't mind getting out there?
I think, I suppose being the authority. As soon as you become the authority in a field, or tell somebody you are the authority in a field, then you're pretty much over the first hurdle. But I think, I mean, I'm not an expert in covert hypnosis by no means. Or stage hypnosis, I was, you know, happily doing my therapy, and then all of a sudden this show stuff took off, and I had to learn on the job. Do you know what I mean? But I learned what worked for me. So I think it's creating, and I'll go on to talk about this, but I created such a scene, a stage, if you like. I set a scene whenever I did TV shows that controlled the whole situation. And that's, you know, getting control of the situation, building rapport, getting control of the situation, and controlling the state of the person that you're working with is one of the major ways in, I'd say.
Okay. Chase said she totally did hypnotize me in London. So it is out. It can be done, Bradley. Okay, so we're going right into the main subject here. This is perfect. And yeah, one more. I bet Chase likes your answer about authority. He's huge into the Milgram experiment and authority. Absolutely. But setting the stage, because this is exactly what we are going to be talking about, how you started out with television. And I believe you said that initially you had to control the entire environment. So can you draw a picture of what a day looked like when you were doing a television program? Every
day was different. Every day is different. Okay, I'll start with the Hypnodog act as it was. When I first did the university shows, I did one show in Oxford University and died on my arse. Nobody took the suggestion, other than falling asleep. Nobody did anything.
wow.
And it was the most horrific experience. I was like nearly throwing up. It was awful. The second TV show, the second show I did was for German TV. And they wanted to come along and film a 2-hour show. And first exclusive is the original show was 2-hour show. And basically I'd hypnotize people, do the usual comedy stuff. And then I would give them the suggestion, as soon as they look at the dog, they would fall asleep. And, you know, at the break, I'd put them back to sleep when all the audience were busy. And I'd just go up to each one individually and say, as soon as you look into the dog's eyes, you're going to go to sleep. And that was it. It was dead easy over hypnosis. I was just giving them a suggestion. And that's how the show started. So German TV show basically came along and hypnotized and filmed the show. And I just did the normal routine. So that was my second ever sort of stage hypnosis show, and it was the first time it had ever gone well.
So how long were the inductions that you did before you planted I guess you plant a suggestion when you see the dog, you go down?
Yeah, well, what I do, the induction it's as long as it takes. If it can be, sometimes it's literally about 3 minutes. Because as soon as I've got the people that I want, then there's no point wasting time. I may as well just get onto the good stuff. So if I get 15 people up, and if I get 5 good subjects within the first few minutes, then the rest can go. I don't need extra bodies on stage. So I'll get rid of people that are not quite as quick, because as soon as I've got 5, I've got a good show and that's it. Sometimes I'll keep more on. So yeah, I'll get rid of people straight away. So it can be anywhere from 2 or 3 minutes to, I suppose the maximum is about 10 minutes.
Okay. And
but what we do is, at the beginning of a normal stage hypnosis show, you give them small little tasks to do, like sitting up, or like slumping, or lifting a hand.
Now, is this like NLP that you're doing a little bit of early on to get compliance?
Well, that starts right from when they see the poster. So, because what happens in a stage show is,
hold on. You're in the lead here. When they see the poster, so how does the poster?
So, right, if they see a poster and they're like, oh my God, there's a Hypnodog coming to Liverpool Uni, what the hell's all that about? We need to go see it. And already, either they'll go online and they'll watch videos, and they're like, they already see what a Hypnodog's about.
Oh, so you're priming them.
So yeah, as soon as they see the poster, then there is, in their mind, is that little seed. And I would say everybody is 99% sure that it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. But there's that 1% where they're like, oh.
I think you've talked about that. Haven't you had like a couple people who just saw the dog and fell out like upon meeting without your doing anything?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But it's, as I say, it's when, as soon as they find out about an appearance, or I've had TV shows where the celebrities, Drew Barrymore and Anne and Dec, when they came up to me, they were like, I have been so nervous all day about meeting you. Well, that's great, because that shows me that they are terrified at what is about to happen. So I know something's about to happen because they're already scared about what's going to happen.
That Drew Barrymore clip, she looked freaked out. Like she knew it was coming. Like she was like, is it going to be?
Yeah. But yeah, so the seed is planted the day they see the poster, the day they find out that or whatever hypnotist is coming. And then they start running little scenarios in their head. I wonder what will happen. And they start imagining them, I'm going to go up and volunteer, and, I wonder what will happen. And if they see videos, all the better. But it's a bit like somebody that has an anxiety or a fear. They see the event happening, but they catastrophize the event. So their body is preparing, releasing, adrenaline into the nervous system, ready ready for that event. They're already hypnotizing themselves from the point they know the event is going to be.
So it actually gets easier as it goes because you have more and more and more compelling press behind you,
Exactly.
like getting Simon Cowell to go under, which I'll always bring up, but I mean that's a big deal, especially because of the huge story behind that.
Yeah.
I imagine that after that, people were falling quicker at shows.
It's the more you do, the more it snowballs, until then what happens is you just walk into a room with the dog and someone falls on the floor and you're like, whoa. But yeah, it was the journey from the first TV show, German TV show where they filmed the show, and then when BGT contacted me, it was like, right, how do I do that? I can't do that. So instantly I was like, no. And they hounded me. And eventually my agent was like, look, come on, just do it. And in the end, I agreed to do it. And I had about a week or two to prepare. And it was like, right, how am I going to do it? Because I can't do what I normally do.
Yeah. So what did you do? And by the way, hounded was a perfect choice of words.
I didn't even realize I'd used that. It wasn't intentional. But yeah, it's funny because all the TV shows, so I've done loads of different TV shows. Some TV shows will give me a room, give me the volunteers, and I could be in there all day with them working. Okay. And some TV shows want me to practice. They want to see the whole bloody show backstage to know that it's going to work before they put me out there. Some TV shows don't want me to do anything. They don't want me to meet the volunteers, nothing. So it's like
where did BGT fall in that spectrum?
They were willing to let me work with people. I worked with Anna Deck backstage, and I worked with the people backstage.
Okay, because because of a live audience, and and shortening the time, because I think you said that whole episode did not take place in 10 minutes or whatever the video clip is. That it was a couple of hours.
No, it was about 20 minutes. I think I was actually on stage.
Oh, okay.
Doing my performance, but then the whole saga afterwards and everything, went on for quite some time. But I was given the volunteers. I was given a huge dressing room. None of the other contestants had a dressing room.
Ooh.
Yes. I actually had 2 dressing rooms, and it was right next to Ant and Dec, and you don't even know who they are. But yeah, it was such a big deal. And I always remember because they filmed me going out to the audience that were queuing up outside. And I just asked for volunteers. So the people came forward, and then we walked through the studios, and this guy I was walking through, and this guy was like, I'm going to have to go to the toilet. He went off to the toilet, and then he came back, and I was like, you all right? And he was like, I've been sick. And I said, oh, what's wrong? He was like, meeting you. And I was like, who? Why? And he was like, I was like, why are you nervous about meeting me? He went, I don't know who you are, but you must be really important because you've like had loads of people with you and you just look really important. It was like, it's working. And it's that kind of thing. But one of the things is I make demands. Yeah. So when I go along to a TV show, I make loads of demands. One of the demands is that none of the people that I am hypnotizing get to meet Princess until we get on stage.
That makes sense.
Why does that make sense?
Well, because you're creating a legend in their mind. If they have any, Princess is a sweet, cute little dog. And if they just say, oh, it's a sweet, cute little dog, but you're staging this ahead of time so much that, is the dog here? Is the dog going to be here? Is the dog out? Oh my God, is the dog?
Yeah. And this is what we do all the time.
Like a voodoo doll.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we do. We arrive and we're like, right, where's the dog going to go? Has the dog got water? Who's going to be looking after the dog? Right, that room's for the dog. Very often she gets her own hotel room. She gets her own dressing room.
Good for her.
So she never uses it. But
My
we
cat is
put
jealous. I'm just telling you, he demands this too. And Gizmo
does
says
it.
I should have my own hotel room and my own staff
Yeah.
himself.
All cats are like that. But yeah, we set the stage straight away by like, right, where can the dog go? And the dog's like this asset that everyone's like, is the dog okay? It's like, yeah. And then, you know, even if I can't work with volunteers beforehand, what I have to do is, first of all, I have to get volunteers. So I choose my volunteers, or well, they volunteer, but then I'll choose me, and like a stage person will get rid of people. So obviously, again, logos, stuff like that, they're gone, or if they look too scruffy or something,
Sure.
they're gone. I'll then just do a quick suggestibility test, like helium balloon, encyclopedia. And if anybody doesn't react or doesn't focus or anything, bang, you're gone.
Right.
Now, as this process is taking place, these people want to be on TV. They want to be on TV. They're excited. They're seeing people go. They're going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? I say.
Oh, yeah. And so that's part of what we're going to be going into today. I mean, I've got some videos queued up, and of course you've heard 1,000 times that, no, you've got a team of people who are playing along with this, and you're very open that, yeah, there absolutely are fakers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You'll find them here and there. So I guess on that note, let's start with the first video, and then you can walk through, you know, in the order, because you know which way you sent them, and we could talk about.
Can I just say, these videos aren't great quality or anything. They are they're experiments, the stuff like that. And is it the
right.
yeah?
They're,
so they're not
illustrative, not.
Yes.
We're not. There's no celebrities here.
No.
We're no music, anything else. It's purely illustrative of what's going on. But that's probably better. And folks, I'd like to get a couple ad dollars on my channel if possible. So that helps from being demonetized from BGT and other people. So, all right, so we have the first video here, which is you on stage with a couple gentlemen. And if you could tell us what's going on, and just tell me to stop.
Yeah, so calling the first person, this is atypical of covert hypnosis. Now, the only suggestion, if I can stop it there.
Sure.
Covert suggestion. So when people, I tell people, when they fall in front of the dog, they need to be careful not to bang their head on my chair. Yeah.
Okay.
So what does that's telling them? They are going to fall, but it doesn't come across that way. If I said you are going to fall in front of the dog, they're, you know, the RAS would be like, no, I'm not. But I say, when you fall in front of the dog, just be really careful not to bang your head on my chair.
So it's a certainty. Now, I noticed the person on the floor's arm was moving around a bit.
Yes.
Now, is there any meaning to that, or just?
It's just somebody's already been hypnotized, but I just think this person is like atypical of what happens. Look at how they're kneeling. I make them kneel up. Now, anybody at home, try and kneel up for even 10 seconds. You'll start to sway. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
It's just like when I was in the Army, you know, the rule was in a parade, don't lock your knees. Don't lock your knees, because you'll faint.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. So it's just putting them in a vulnerable position. You know, some hypnotists have people stood up looking at the ceiling. Well, you start wobbling, and there's this feedback loop in your head going, what's going on? What's going on? So yeah, he's knelt up. And then I ask him, he's not seen the dog before, you know, I ask him to look in the dog's eyes. Now, Princess has been trained that when I say look, she locks on to whoever's in front of her, and her pupils dilate because she thinks she's getting ham. Well, with the stage lights,
okay, I love it.
With the stage lights that come on, it's like so many people have said, oh my God, lights came in the dog's eyes. And I used to be like, what the hell are they talking about? And then when I watched, it's like, oh, it's because the pupils are dilating and the light bounces off and it looks different. So they're then focusing on one spot, because I'm telling them they're not allowed to look anywhere else. They've got to focus on the dog's eyes. You try, kneel up, focusing on one spot with 1,000 people, maybe millions of people watching you. And if you don't start wobbling, there's, you know, there's
Even the
something wrong with
looking
you.
will knock your balance slightly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
So
shall we
yeah,
continue and
continue. Yeah.
see?
So that's just atypical. No actual suggestion was given. I know like the shows, no suggestion was given about the dog, and it's just a natural fall. Now, some people say, oh, they stop themselves from falling. They're not unconscious. They're non-conscious. They're doing
Yeah, you see,
something non-consciously, not unconsciously.
Okay.
So yeah, same again. And the first person is the most important. They set the agenda for everybody else.
So do you pick them in order and get that most
Yes.
highly
Yeah.
suggestible?
If I've got that, if I've got that one person, now watch this girl. This is slightly different. She's sat back on her knees, which is not great. She's not followed my instruction carefully. So she's sat back on her knees. So that's going to be more difficult. And now the dog's getting restless.
What do you do when they don't play along? Here, it looks like you're just indulging her. Do you ever correct them?
Sometimes I'll get up and just do it myself if they don't go down. You see, she's kind of going. She keeps saving herself. It's painful for me.
Does that make it actually go deeper? I'm curious. Like the fighting along. Like that?
Yeah, because it's like going in and out.
All right.
This next one was.
Okay, we'll go right to it. Cool.
This next one is a Japanese TV show that I filmed in January of last year. They flew over from Japan. I'd done the whole show with volunteers, English volunteers. There were 2 Japanese celebrities that got hypnotized, and I did the suggestion in the regular way, overt suggestion. This guy was the producer. He'd had no suggestibility test, nothing. But he was desperate to go in front of the dog.
Now this is one that you use a translator, and I find that really fascinating, right? Because
yes.
And you've spoken before, so if you don't mind repeating again, because I think that's cool how there are the 2 kinds of translators and who you request.
Yeah, there are simultaneous translators. So as soon as I start speaking, they start speaking. Whereas other translators, I have to say a sentence, I have to wait, they have to say a sentence. And that's how, when I went to China the very first time, that's who I had. Now, I know I need a simultaneous translator. It's, that's what I demand now, because then I can just keep speaking and keep the flow. Because what would happen is I'd give one sentence, she'd say something, and what she said obviously might be really, really long compared to what I said, or really short, because they never use the same amount of words. And sometimes I'd forget where I was, what I was doing. I'd be like, have we done this yet? Have we it's like, right, I need to...
How about the translator themselves? I mean, sorry to throw a wrench, but what if they're tonally not right? Because I mean, you're kind of delivering in a tone, and what if it's somebody has a weird voice that could be jarring?
I always ask for a whenever I meet the translator beforehand, and generally if it's a big production, there's a few translators. And I once did a TV show in China. I got through the first stage, and they went crazy for it. The finals that I stood to win a lot of money, they gave me this translator who sat up the night before writing my script, and I was like, I'm not comfortable with this, but I was still quite new to the game. And, I think it was like the 3rd TV show I'd ever done. So I was like, oh, so she wrote the script out. And then the next day when we were there with the audience and everything, because they filmed the induction on Chinese TV, I'd say something and then she'd stop and be like, no, that's wrong. And it's like, no, it's not, it's not word for word. I'm working with what I get. But I always say, I want them to read, to copy my pitch, my tone. If I say something fast and really loud, you've got to say it fast and loud. And sometimes I'll go, open your eyes now. And it's like, I need that, not, and open your eyes now, because it's not going to motivate anybody to do something. So it's a bit like reading a children's story. You've got to do all the voices, otherwise it's not going to work. And sometimes I always ask for a really confident translator, because very often translators are quite timid and shy.
Right, because they're not supposed to be the focus. They're supposed to be transparent.
Yes, and very often translators are backstage in a booth and they're just in my ear. So that's what they're used to. They're not used to being in front of loads of people. So yeah, when it's a translator, it's like, oh God, this is going to be a lot more difficult.
And you have to focus and make sure it's a female, hopefully with a tonality that is close to you.
It doesn't matter. I've used male and female. I try and go for more hands-on inductions in those situations. So I had to learn really quickly and get more creative on how to get people quickly without words. So that without as many words, so that I wasn't relying on the translator as much.
Okay, now when the translation's happening, and I'm sorry if I'm digging forever, but this is just fascinating to me. Are you saying go ahead and watch are they watching the translator or are they watching you? Are you like, no, stop looking at him over here?
No,
over here.
I always start with a standard eye lock. So they're looking at the ceiling. Okay. They're looking at the ceiling, they're not looking at me.
Okay, and do you circle them and stuff like that too to kind of keep them off kilter?
Well, it's funny because like the first time I did it, I'd be going round and I'd be moving arms and pushing heads and stuff, and the translator follows me around. It's like, I remember saying to me, you can just stay at the front. You don't need to follow me around. And they'd give me a mic. I'd be like, I don't need the mic. She needs the mic. And they'd be like, they just don't get it. And it's like, it doesn't matter what I say or how loud I am, because they're not like, unless like, it's weird then again when you work with a German audience or something that speak a lot of English, but not completely, because then they're understanding a bit of what I say, and then they're hearing the translator as well. So I always wonder what effect that has, but so far it's always worked.
I would be interested if that kind of quasi stereo vibe of different languages might actually deepen it. Like you're hearing one side and then another side, where a lot of it's distraction from yourself to break the theta state, right?
I think my friend Hugh that did the original show, his show was amazing. He was from Mauritius. He still is from Mauritius, I suppose. And his voice. Sorry?
What is Mauritius?
Mauritius, it's a place.
I've never heard of it.
Mauritius? You've never heard of Mauritius?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Indian Ocean, like, where the Seychelles is and that area.
Okay, no. Okay, sorry guys, I failed.
We'll do the geography lesson later. But he's got the mother tongue there is French, and he's got an accent. And I always just thought, how could I do it with my, proper leads me? All right, love, sleep. It's like, how can I do it with my
So he's exotic, is what you're saying.
When he was like, yes and no, it's time. But, it's like, he sounds like mysterious as it is, and I notice with him, people find it difficult to understand him, so they really listen more intently. So it doesn't, maybe that's, and I think that is part of it. When he's got an accent, they have to really listen carefully to understand him, so they're focused more.
That's wow. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And by the way, I was looking at the chat and listening to you. So there was a perfect example of breaking the theta state. Muchaba Alam has asked a bunch of times, and I just wanted to state, you told us earlier where you learned hypnosis, that you took 2 uni courses of 2 years each. So please check it out earlier, and she goes into that. So, okay, continuing with Okay, somebody said Mauritius is the home of the dodo. Okay, now time to stop looking at the chat. Back to the show, and we'll look at this producer. And remember how I said earlier that Drew Barrymore had this like kind of scared look in her eyes? To me, I read that as fear. He has this trepidation, I feel, kind of excitement and fear.
He was desperate to be hypnotized. He'd had no covert suggestion. He had nothing. And I thought, well, why not? Because it's, it's Japan. I don't care whether it doesn't work or anything. So, and I'd already done the show. It was successful. So he was like desperate to get in front of the dog. The dog had enough. She just wanted to get off my knee. We had to give him a piece of ham, which I've never done before, so that the dog would even look at her, because she didn't even like to look at him. Because for whatever reason. But so he had nothing. So he just seen the other people be hypnotized.
All right. And let's see.
It was like rigor mortis set in when he went down.
You crack me up because you're like, okay, here we go. Princess, get down.
He just kept asking. I was like, and I was so tired. It being a long day. I can't see the video. Have you got the video up?
You know what? I forgot to put it up. So
you're watching it and you won't let anybody else watch it. That's good.
No, that's perfect. I was hypnotized.
As long as you are enjoying yourself.
Okay, folks, this is what you call teamwork, and one of us here is a competent professional.
It's not me. So he's got a piece of ham in his hands, and my daughter's actually having to tell the dog to look at him, but look at his face. He looks petrified.
Yeah, he does. And he is petrified.
And his legs lift up like he's really tense.
Yeah, like a board. Like it kind of hit the ground and went doing, so to speak.
But then there's this next clip demonstrates this well. Again, this is another Japanese TV show. They, for some reason, the Japanese always want me to wander into a country pub where there's lots of people and hypnotize everybody. So it obviously it takes a lot of setting up. I have to go to these pubs and everything. So this was one of these. A Japanese celebrity came along. They wanted me to hypnotize people. But the reason why I've chosen this clip is because you see a perfect demonstration of all the different levels. I get some people on stage that are gone. They have no idea what's going on and they will do anything. Then I get the people in between that are pretty much gone, the sort of medium. And then I get the pretenders. And you get a couple of everyone in this next clip.
Cool. So go ahead and stop me as we go and tell me what we were seeing.
So first of all, I'm sat in the middle. There's loads of people around. There's lots of distraction. I've told them all not to look at the dog. They're not allowed to look at the dog until they kneel down.
Which sets the seed. Perfect.
Yes.
Because they're all covertly trying to look at the dog.
Well, they've been there probably an hour at this point, messing about with filming, and the dog's not been there. So the dog's just, enters last minute, does a thing, and then off she goes. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's go here. Got him.
And I do now. If you watch, you can tell who's So I am speaking, but I'm just speaking to the dog. I'm like whispering to the dog. A lot of people are like, oh, she's saying something, which is then when people started saying that, I stopped saying anything. I put my mic down, said nothing. And then also some people said that I was looking at them, that I was doing it. So that's when I then started looking at the floor, and I'd only let the dog look.
Oh, okay. Okay. So just shift the focus onto the dog.
Yes.
These people, I'm partially colorblind, so you have to bear with me. The female closest to us seemed a little sullen, like, yeah, whatever.
They'd been there, so bored, absolutely, for ages. And they had done quite a few suggestions. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll continue here. Yeah, her look is just like, whatever.
But here we have
they're sitting wrong.
Yeah, doesn't matter with these lot. We have one. The nearest person is a brilliant subject, like could have
Really?
made her murder the queen. The
Oh,
person on the far end is a pretty damn good subject. And the person, I think, the other girl is
so
not
this
bad,
one, her
mediocre.
and her are the strong
Yeah,
subjects.
the ones at the outer edge. The guy, not like he's not at all. He just goes along with it, and you can tell. Watch. So watch when I wake them up. Oh, this is the next lot. Again, the girl, really good. And the guy at the far end, really good. One in the middle.
The guy at the far end is falling out before he even got started.
He's been hypnotized a couple of times, which is why I asked him to come along. I always have somebody that's good if I can, if it's round
a ringer.
home.
So he's kind of a ringer?
He's a really good subject. He's not planned or anything, but I know having a good subject there leads everybody else. So yeah, he'll go as soon as he's like in the room. He'll just start to go.
Yeah, I noticed that. Awesome. He probably loves it though,
because he can hear the music, and what you're not hearing is the music. Trust in me, just the Disney. So that's playing. That's a suggestion.
Wow, everything perfect.
The interesting thing is when they wake up. Oh, so the Japanese celebrity is now. So she hasn't had a suggestion because I can't give the celebrity a suggestion at all.
Oh, really?
The only thing I can do is the covert, not the rules, but if you want to pause it a second.
Yeah.
If I say to Drew Barrymore or someone, you will be hypnotized by a dog, afterwards they're going to tell everybody that's what I said.
Oh.
So I have to use covert hypnosis with them.
So this is why she's going now, because she needs to see all these others. Exactly. So it's like, here are the examples.
Yep.
Again and again and again, this will be you.
And also it's like, be careful not to bang your head, that kind of thing. Yeah, and she hasn't seen the dog. It's a big drama, like the dog, where we're going to put the dog. They can't see the dog. If the dog walks in, everyone's like, oh my God, the dog. No, nobody can see the dog. Nobody can see the dog. It's like, it's a big build-up.
And that panic helps plant the seed even more.
Because everyone's like, oh, shit. Really? Is it that powerful? Oh, yes.
I love
it.
So
even when they're sat around, I always tell them to look away. If you could, the dog's about to come on now. If you could all look away. I don't want you looking in the dog's eyes yet because I don't want you to fall off your chair now. That would be dangerous. Another suggestion.
Okay, this is a side subject, but it's just funny. Do you have any friends who have been subjects and they can't be around Princess because do
you know, I've done it myself. I remember I was at the studios in London after I'd filmed some stuff for BGT, not the show. But I was looking at the dog and I was like, oh my God, stop. But yeah, I mean, I've had, like my nieces, nephews and stuff come to shows. And then they're always like a bit nervous about looking at the dog.
That is funny. Poor Princess. Why doesn't anybody look in my eyes? Yeah. No, your snack's over there.
Yeah.
Over there.
Yeah.
So back to the show.
So yeah, the only suggestion she's had is be careful not to bang your head on the way down. So that's why she puts her hands out. But watch now as they're waking up.
Okay.
You see
he's very aware of everybody around him.
The other girls are like, what the hell? Why are we all on the floor? What's going on? You can see the bemused look in people's faces, like, what is going on?
Right.
So yeah. So there are different, very, very different levels. But the next clip.
Right. Now I'm going to prime this because we were talking about this and kind of planning ahead of time. And I think the film is called Brainwashed. Now I don't remember the name, but it was like, it came to my mind. And I was talking to you about how they were trying to find if Saran could have been, I guess, a Manchurian candidate or, an assassin with a trigger. And Chase Hughes has brought it up before and very, very much wants to interview him. So it's not it's not some crazy speculation with tinfoil hats. There are genuine people saying, do you think that somebody could be convinced of murder? And Darren Brown actually has done an entire special on it. And in that special, I was talking about how they were trying to weed out people who were faking it or just weren't really as deep as they played along that they were. And they did things like brought them into a restaurant in public and told them it was really hot, so they take off their clothes. And obviously someone who's not quite under is a little more aware of what is going on, so they might hesitate a bit when they're stripping naked, or unless they're the complete exhibitionist. So that kind of helped. And then
it's a feedback loop. It's thin end of the wedge. So at the beginning you get them to do little things, but then the feedback loop is every time they do that thing, they're like, oh, I did that. They must have control. Oh, I did that. Wow, they must have control. But if you went from something little to some shooting somebody, wouldn't happen. It has to be incremental for it to go in, for it to, for them to sort of conform. And that's how hypnotist shows do. You start off getting them to move a little bit, giggle, stand up, sit down. But then at the end, they're doing crazy things. And when I got asked to do the world's best, I had to think about what I could possibly do for a few different episodes if I got through. But the one thing I thought, everybody says it's fake. So how do I make, sort of prove to people that these people aren't acting? They're not acting. There might be one on stage that is acting, but the majority are not acting. And so I decided you're not allowed to let people eat onions anymore in the UK. So I thought, okay, well, let's get people to eat.
No, what was that, by the way? You mentioned that aside. I was like, well, I'm going to ask about that in the show. What went on with onions?
Part of the Hypnotic Act, we've got to get a license in the UK to perform any kind of hypnosis. Other than hypnotherapy, but any kind of street hypnosis or stage hypnosis, you've got to apply for a license to each council, so each city council, the government. So, and they all have slightly different rules, but there's two rules: that they're not allowed to eat onions, and they are not allowed to do catalepsy. So where you put them across two chairs and stand up. Yeah, really. We're not allowed to do that. I don't know what it's like in America.
Onions? I'm just so curious. Is that the whole onion tastes like an apple routine?
Yeah, it's because it might be deemed as not very, not very nice. And, I suppose with food allergies now as well, you've got to be extra careful.
I guess you should ask about that ahead on food allergies.
Yeah, well, what I decided was when I had said that I'd do the world's best, I'd already kind of retired from stage hypnosis. So I didn't have anything to practice on. So I just went to the local rugby club. I said, can I just do this little show? Got some people down. And I wanted to make people eat a lemon to see their reaction and everything, see whether they're faking it or whatever. And then I wanted to plunge people's hands into ice water. And I wanted to do it with somebody that was hypnotized to think it was warm water and somebody that wasn't hypnotized.
Okay. And so that's what this clip is.
Yeah, the clip you're about to see, we've already done, there's two things going on, so it's difficult to keep your eyes on. But at the end, there's two guys, and the first part is they're both putting their hands in. So the two middle people are hypnotized. The two external people aren't.
Okay.
So they both put their hands in the ice water, and the woman in the middle, they've all just eaten lemons, and the woman on the outside has got her lemon left because she didn't like it, obviously, because she's not hypnotized. But as I'm doing the ice experiment, you see the woman in the middle ask the other lady for her lemon because she enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, we'll see that as it goes, definitely. Stop me when that's happening.
You can see the two guys, and you can see the reaction of the guy that isn't hypnotized. It's going to be blatantly obvious at how long he can keep his hand in the water. Because I said, please keep your hand in the water as long as possible. The video's disappeared, just so you know.
Hopefully it's back.
Not yet. Not for me.
Okay, lovely.
But yeah, so the guy at the end isn't hypnotized, and you can see how he finds it difficult. He takes his hand out and he puts it back in. You can see the pain on his face, and the other person is just cool as a cucumber and thinks the water is warm.
Okay. Rule to the wise, everybody. When you have hot corners on a Mac, it'll turn the screen black and knock out a video during a live stream. I'm just winning on technical points today like crazy. So I'm going to hit play while I'm ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's
She's licking all the juice off.
Yep. So there's the ice bucket, just removing.
And that's a lemon.
That's a lemon. You can see the person at the end in the green has got a bit of lemon left in her hand. But now the hands have gone into the ice bucket. You see the guy on the end, he's already struggling. He's saying, it's cold. And this other guy is like, no, it's warm. And you can see on his face.
Sure. He looks relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. Now this woman's going to be asking for the lemon. She'll notice it.
And the expression on the one who's not hypnotized says it all.
Yeah. Even the guy with the hand in the ice water is like, oh my God. But he's taking his hand out because he can't stand it. And the other guy would have probably, I didn't want to keep his hand in there because I thought, I don't know what it's going to do. I'm not, I'm not a doctor, so I didn't want to be sued afterwards. But the point was he couldn't stand it any longer. And this guy was like completely unfazed. And then the next clip, I do exactly the same with the girls. One hypnotized, one not. You can see she's had enough already. She can't cope with it. And I was like, no, come on, you've got to put it in. Keep it in. This woman's got a hand in all the time. Well, both of them. She put both of them.
Well, she's I'm guessing a great subject because she looks like she's not only under, but fully cooperative.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, she was a brilliant subject. And again, she can't handle it any longer. And she probably would have stayed in there all day. But it goes to show you the difference. Like, and I've done this with men and, women, and the men are like, I can do this, put the hand in. And the women have, that have been hypnotized have got their hand in there for ages, and the man can't handle it. They're like, no. So it is quite powerful in that it shows you the different levels.
Definitely. Well, this has been fantastic. And what have I forgotten to ask you about this time?
What have you forgotten to ask me? I don't think anything. I remember when I was younger, like covert hypnosis, I remember when I was younger, whenever I went into, we called it CDT. It was, when you were making something, we all stood around a table. And whenever I knew I had CDT in the diary, I'd be winding myself up, I'd be hypnotizing myself, ready to pass out. And every lesson, bang, I'd be down like a sack of spuds. Because I'd just stand there and be like, oh my God, it's starting. Probably locked my knees. And after that, then I had to sit I was allowed to sit. I was the only person that was allowed to sit. But it's that process that's, happening beforehand. The hypnosis starts long before I ever get up on stage. And the hypnosis, when I do my, people get hooked on inductions and how long they are. I stand up and talk for 5 minutes before I ask for any volunteers. I'm hypnotizing them then already with my, with what's going to happen and everything else. Right. So it's a process that it might be a rapid induction. It's not really rapid because it started, as soon as they met you and you told them you were a hypnotist.
Okay. I've got a question here. I've asked this before, but it's always a good one. Mm-hmm. How long can the state last? And what would happen if you don't wake them up? And yes, I'm going to ask you to repeat the same story that you have told about Ant and Deck. And when you did, in fact, forget to wake them up. So because it'll demonstrate it in a colorful manner that I can always pull as a clip later. And answers the question well. So
if I didn't wake them up, they would probably just, they can feel a bit ill, a bit zoned out, a bit sick. If they're already eyes closed, they're probably just going to go to sleep. and then wake up at a later point. They're not going to get stuck in hypnosis. It doesn't happen. Some people don't want to wake up because it can be such a nice feeling. But everybody
Have you watched
does.
Office Space?
I think you asked me that before.
Okay,
and I don't think I did, but I think I might have done since. Yeah.
Okay.
The guy gets stuck in hypnosis, supposedly. Yeah.
Well, but it was a hilarious principle. Like the hypnotist died, and then he just went on.
It's happened before. I was once doing a Zoom weight loss group, and I did it with like 10 women. And this woman got on, and I was doing the hypnosis on Zoom. And we all heard her snoring, and it was like, oh God, she's gone to sleep. And I was like, 3, 2, 1, wide awake. And I was clapping, and I was like banging my mic and everything. She was gone. So I was like, oh shit. I was like ringing her, nothing. And she rang me the next day. She was like, oh, sorry, I fell asleep. And she was like, I had a great night's sleep. And I woke up at 6 this morning, and it was like, oh, she'd just fallen asleep. So it wasn't, but if people were watching, they'd be like, oh my God, they're stuck in hypnosis. No, they just fell asleep. She was really tired. She'd had a tough day. Shit happens.
Okay, so what happened with Ant and Dec?
Ant and Dec, when we were on the show, again, because I was a rookie, I didn't remove the suggestion. So I'd kind of finished, ready to be judged. I was like, give them all a round of applause. They went off stage, and I went to be judged and everything. And then as I went backstage, I got judged, got 4 yeses. Simon Cowell came up, Simon Cowell came up, and he didn't go under. And then I went backstage, and straight away my agent came up to me, and he was like, oh, you've got to go and unhypnotize the people. They're going mental. We've had security back here. It's all been going crazy. And I was like, why? What's happened? I'd given the suggestion to Ant and Dec that they'd forget the number 7, sorry, and that they'd have 11 fingers. And the next few people thought Ant and Dec were naked, which you didn't see. So off they went backstage, and straight away the people that were there with them, that was on stage with them, started saying, I can't believe you need to put clothes on. I can't believe you're doing this. My kids watch this show. So Ant and Dec, being the fools at the worst, like jumping up and down and like shimmying in front of these people. So like all hell broke loose. I had to bring security in. The guys wanted to punch them. So they had to be separated. And then the producer came running up to me and was like, you've got to come back on stage. Simon Cowell's collapsed. And it was like, oh my God, I thought it was like the worst day of my life. I was like, oh, I've killed Simon Cowell. So yeah. And then she was like, bring your dog. I was like, well, okay. And went back on stage, and, he was collapsed, and medics were there, and like his security. And I had to go out and like wake him up. But had I never removed suggestion, that would have faded out, maybe when they woke up the next day, they'd have probably remembered. So it depends. Everybody's a bit different. I know myself, because I did the number 7 so much, sometimes I'll count. I know when I went to the gym with my partner, he was like, that isn't 10 reps. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's 10 reps. And he was like, no, it isn't. And so he was counting, and I realized I wasn't saying the number 7. Every time I did it, I was like, shit, that's gone in. So you can kind of, people, if you give them a piece of music, they're going to jump up and dance to. I know with my friend Hugh, he did a show, and he used to make guys strip to a certain song, and they all went clubbing afterwards, and all of them started stripping to this song. Now, is that the suggestion staying around? Did they want to do it? Who knows?
Oh, so it could be an excuse. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Perfect excuse, yeah.
Oh my!
But yeah,
and by the way,
it can linger a bit. Can the suggestion?
Okay, and if anybody does not believe what happened with Simon Cowell, there is footage of him the next day or a few days later saying, I got hypnotized by a dog the other day. So yes. he flat out has admitted it and said it was surreal, I think was the exact quote.
Yeah. So
this has been amazing. Actually, I hope there's stuff on the table, because we got to keep you coming back. It's been a year. Good God. It's been so long. And I know that
Yeah.
everybody loves you, and I love having you on.
Ah, thank you. That's nice.
And I really hope to see you again. And folks, you need to subscribe.
Yeah.
I know you're hovering over the button because Krystyna said it earlier. So just go ahead and
Why
finish
not?
that action. And
Why not?
when you're done, go visit Krystyna, KrystynaLennon.co.uk.
Yes, that's me. Yeah. Or on YouTube, Krystyna Lennon.
Absolutely.
Google Hypnodog. I'm sure you'll find me.
Perfect. And Krystyna, thank you so much.
Thank you for having